So hello everyone, welcome back to the class 17, which is API, creating an API for get a single customer and deleting a single customer. Just remember that we are almost reaching the final class of the course. We have 20 classes, and it is always a pleasure to teach you guys and to learn with you guys. And this video in this course is also sponsored by Xteam, the best company of the world to find remote jobs. And the class today, or better, in the last class, in this class 16, we basically have learned how to create APIs using NextJS, because NextJS, as everything is rendered and everything happens in the server side in NextJS, we also can create API. So we don't need to create a front and a backend, two separate frameworks and two separate projects or whatever. So we can create APIs also with our Next.js. The only thing that we need to do is just following the paths, the folder pattern, which is pages, and then API, and everything that is inside the folder API will be treated as an API endpoint and path in the URL. Just remember that each inner folders that you put consequently with each other in the folders will be treated as the slashes of the URLs. So today what we are going to be creating will be the delete API and also the get a single customer API. And the first things first, remember that in the page we just created, for the pages, we just created a page at customers, and then open square brackets ID and close the square brackets for defining for accessing the page of a single customer. For the API will be exclusively the same. So we just create a new folder here, created. It will be square brackets ID surrounded by square brackets. And then here inside ID, we just going to create a new file that is going to be named index.ts. Here is where it's going to be our handler for basically querying a single user, just a single guy. So we are going to work on that guy now, and then we move to the delete one. So just remember that we need to import request and response from Express. And then what I'm going to do here is npm run dev, just to run the things in advance, so we don't need to keep waiting. And I'm going to rewrite the handler, which is a async function. It will be handler, and we are going to use our request now this time, because we need to grab the user that we want to get, and then response, and then always, like we know, it will return a promise of a response to us. And then now we are ready to request to create our handler body. Let's just import this now. It is sport, sorry, default. It will be sport default ConnectDB in our handler. Every time we are going to use to interact with the database, we need to use that middleware that we created in the class 16, on the class 15, sorry. And we are going to create a try catch here. In the case something goes wrong when we try to find something in the database. Error with 3 R's, no, 2 R's. So creating here this guy, and there inside try, what we need to do is we are going to get a const, and we are going to get query ID from rec. We can get the ID from for example, if you want to update a user with ID 10, for example, it will be local to localhost. It will be the same way that we were getting the user, but with the page. The only thing that we change is that we are going to do API, then customers, then the ID of the user. It will be this. This will be the API for fetching a single user getting this user in the database. But it is basically the same thing when we were open the page of this specific customer, but without the API. The only thing that changes here is the API. Okay, so we can get this query parameter from the request that it has been sent to us. Okay, everything's good here. Also, we get the ID of the guy that we want to get. We already has this. We just have to query a collection to find if this ID it is inside our database. So we are going to get to create a query result, which will be a single customer, are new, because possibly it can be that we don't have this data in our database. So it will be await customer model find by ID this time, and then we just pass the ID that we just have grabbed from the request query, and then is going to return. This is going to return for us the res.status 200, and then will be send query result. So great, everything's good here. There is just one thing that is just formatting things that it is complaining, and then here we just return the same thing when we have an error. Res.status 500 sorry, status 500, and then it will be send error dot message. It's complaining about formatting again, but this doesn't matter. Okay, status, oh, what I did here, it will be only res. Okay, everything's okay here. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to fix those formatting errors. It will be a quick fix, and then catch here, I will just put a space here. Okay, everything's okay, and then we are ready to query a single user. So if we go to the browser here, let's go to our application first. If we go to our application, we can see that it will be loaded. Okay, we don't have the ID. Of course we have, we just need to click to go to the page of the user. Okay, and we can see that the user has already been fetched, because if we go here to the network, we can see that we already have this. It will be customers. Okay, customers here again. Another thing here. No, this one, not this one too. This will be, let's do better. Let's do this. We have this ID here, this big ID here. The only thing that we need to do is localhost 3000 API customers, and then the ID that we want to query, and then we got this guy. So we can see that this handler for querying a single user is working perfectly as we expected. We can also use the API tester and another softwares like Postman for testing APIs. This guy is already working, so we are good to go to the delete side of things. And for the delete side of things, we just need to change one thing first before, because for doing the delete request, we are going to do in this format here. We are going to slightly change the format of the URL that we are going to request the delete to our API, because in before the another classes it was a delete HTTP method. It was a delete, but without this now we want to increase and put delete here in the end. So the first thing that we need to do will be, we need to go to fetch in the sources, where we have our functions for sending the request to the backend, to the API. And here in the delete customer, we just need to put delete here. We just put slash and delete. Okay, everything's okay. But remember that the mock, the interceptor, we are not using mock, but it might be that you want to use mock in the future. So we want to change the mock to, the only thing that we need to change here in the mock, it is on delete. And here I'm already matching a digit, so we don't need to change anything here. We don't need to change. Let me see if there is. So now we just need to go to the mock, because if we don't change here, and if we switch the environment variable to true here, if we want to use the mock again, this will not intercept my request, because the format of the URL that needs to be called for doing the delete request has changed. So here the only thing that we need to do here is that before we were basically getting before this new change, we were basically doing this delete request. So here we were getting the last index of, which will be always the number of the ID of the user. Now we have delete here, so we don't have this. We don't have this. And now what we need to do? What we need to do basically here will be, we just need to change to this guy here. One thing that we just need to change to this. We are going to change to this guy. We'll match a digit and we'll take this guy here. So it will match and we'll delete the things. So now we are good to go to the handler for deleting. The first thing that we need to do is creating a file for this. So we are going to create a file inside the open square brackets. We are going to create a new file called delete. It will be delete.ts. And for being faster, what I'm going to do, go to the handler that you just have created for querying a single user in the index.ts file, and just copy and paste this, because it is the same format of the handler. The only thing that we are going to change it is here inside the try catch. That's the only thing that changes. Here what we are going to do is a if clause to check, like we did with the post one, to check if it is real a delete request. Because if it is not a delete request, we need to send back to the user that this request method is not supported. And we are going to use again this guy here, because we need the ID of the guy that we want to delete. So we are going to use the same one that we did in the handler for querying a single user. So we just copy this and paste again. And the only thing that changes now is that we are going to call on await. Remember that usually delete request doesn't have a response body, just an OK in the response body. So it will be a customer model. It will be find by an ID and deleted. It will be passing the ID that we have here. Okay, this guy here. Okay, this guy, I forgot this guy. It is inside the if clause. Sorry guys. And then if everything goes well, it will be return rest status to 100, and then send. We're just going to send an OK back to the front end, or someone who basically queries this. If the request is not a delete, we will do the same thing that we did with post. We are basically going to do an else clause here, and then return rest status. It will be a 422 error, and then send this guy here. We are going to put this string here, request method not supported. Okay, everything's okay. The error is already here. Everything's okay. We are not using our customer, so let's delete his from here. So okay, I'm saving this, and now we are going to test directly in the application. So let's just go to the first to the home page. Okay, everything's okay here. Let's delete this customer that we have created in the last class. So go click on this guy. We can see that this guy has already been fetched to the new API for getting a single customer that we just have created. And then we are going to go to delete, and then it is deleted. Boom. If we go to if we refresh the page again, we can see that it's deleted, and now our delete API endpoint is working perfectly as we expected. And we basically finalized this class. Like the aim and the goal of this class was creating the API for deleting and for getting a single customer. And we are going to basically move to the class, to one of the last classes of the courses, which will be the next class, which will be class 18 for creating an API for updating a customer. And this will we are basically creating an API for as we created all of those and other APIs for the class. The only API that is left is the put request. So we are going to create this, and then we are going to have all the APIs ready, all the UI ready. We are going to have everything, so we are going to be ready to start deploying that application. So just remember that this video is sponsored by Xteam, the best company of the world to find remote jobs, and the best company of the world to have a different work environment. And thanks a lot. It was a pleasure to teach you guys, and it always a pleasure to always learn with you guys too. And see you guys in the next class, which is the class 18.